What's going on, guys? My name is Drew. I'm a cinematographer here in Atlanta, Georgia. Just trying to get into this content space, man. I really want to share some of the things that I've learned over the last few years in an effort to, one, help others, and two, just continue to grow and be able to look back and watch my growth as things, kind of continue to progress. I think it'll be, kind of a dope experiment and then just to build a community of people that are like, sharing information, stuff that took me years to kind of figure out. I want to share that stuff with other people to kind of help them, if they can speed up their process or just, be a dope tool bag and even, in return, maybe get some tricks and tips from some of the people that may be watching. So today, what we're going to be doing is breaking down the cinematography, the kind of as well as the pre-production of a music video I shot a few months back called "By the Blood." It's by a dope artist named the Southern Yankee. It's actually a part of a larger music video. If you haven't seen it, I'll put the link in the description. You should go and check it out. It's actually three different songs that kind of flow into each other that he released as an EP. And so, with that idea, we kind of kept that similar idea with the videos. There's three different directors. My business partner David and my other business partner Nick. We all work together a lot anyway on films and stuff. So this was just a dope way to kind of get three different director styles. With this. Mostly, like I said, I am a DP nowadays, but I do kind of miss directing here and there. And if it's a dope project or if it's a project that allows me to kind of have some fun, just exercise that part of my brain, the directing part, in an interesting way, then I'm all for it. So in this, though, I'm going to kind of focus more so on the cinematography side of things. We're going to get into the pre-production side of things first. And as you'll see, I wasn't able to get everything that I wanted. This was like a indie project. I'll have another video with going over the BTS of this project. This more giving, talking about it more in depth on kind of the ups and downs of everything. But this video is specific to, how I accomplished some of the looks. The first thing I do when I'm approaching a music video is listen to the music and try to figure out what type of feelings it evokes, what type of vibe, it evokes. And then, sometimes I can see images in my head based off of that, and sometimes I can't. But if I have a feeling, I can go and, look for images and see, okay, this image feels like this. Another thing I'll do is, uh, listen to the lyrics. And sometimes certain lyrics give off, uh, a certain message, or I may want to visually represent the lyric. A good resource that I've been using for the last few years is a site called FrameSet. It's pretty similar. It's pretty similar to Shot Deck, but when I found FrameSet, it had something that Shot Deck didn't have, but has since added, which was commercials and music videos. Shot Deck was only films, that kind of limited your your pickings because there's certain things that you may want, certain camera moves or lighting styles or whatever. You can have a little bit more fun when it comes to experimenting with things like that, with music videos and commercials versus in a narrative project. So if you're shooting a lot, if you've got a lot of creativity, or if you're lacking creativity and you want to try to find some inspiration, these are definitely good avenues to use. But a free avenue is like Pinterest or Instagram or something like that. What FrameSet is just a bunch of stills from different projects, stills and GIFs from different projects. And you can save them in folders. So I make a folder on the side over here. You can see all the different folders I have. I make a folder for every project or every vibe that I'm, working on. I have a favorites. It's just dope images. They may not be for a specific, project, but I just like the image, like dark and moody. It's not a specific project, but those are just images that kind of fit that aesthetic. And so if I'm looking for references for something in that vein, I can come here, look through what I've already, saved. If I don't find anything, then I can try to search for something new. So I made a folder for the song. Again, it's called By the Blood. And so I just, found images based off of the idea that I had. So the song is a Christian rap song, and it's pretty much talking about how everything that you're going through, God has you covered, and God's got your back. He's not gonna leave you hanging. And so, no matter what you did in your past, what you're doing right now, God has you. And so, it's just real, braggadocious energy, real aggressive. It kind of sticks out among his other songs, not just on this project, but in his whole discography. A lot of his stuff is very low key, very mellow, very introspective. And so a lot of my music video background is typically things in this type of vein. So this is why they chose me to direct this specific video. Some of these images are based off of lyrics. Some of them are just based off of ideas that I had, or based off of you know tones and stuff like that, vibes. So for instance, he had a lyric about he felt like he was drowning.
Used to feel like I was drowning, now I'm in the deep waters getting baptized.
Replicated this to my best ability. I just used frame set to kind of get ideas and organize them into a specific folder. And then from frame set, we can switch over to Milanote. And I'm sure you guys have heard about Milanote. If you haven't, check it out. They actually have a free version that you can do a lot on, but like with everything, when you pay, you get a little bit more. And so just look into that. Again, I'll put a link in the description for all these sites. So it's easy access for you guys. See, I have the song in here, so they can literally play the song while they're looking at all this information. But also have some video references here. So I have Kendrick Lamar Humble, Tell Your Friends by The Weeknd. I have Crayon by BK the Ruler. I have a PG Lang commercial, a couple music videos that I pulled ideas from those images from FrameSet. I was able to upload them into here and kind of separate things out. So I have like a dark tone because a part of the song is talking about before he knew God and how he moved before he changed his life. And so that's the darker side of him. That's the darker side of his life. So I have a bunch of images to kind of coincide to that. And one of those images is his head, like his body being buried, but his head sticking out of the ground, which became like a very pivotal scene, as you'll see soon. A lot of color contrast, you'll see. And then I have the bright images that kind of reflect the opposite, right? So, hands being lifted in the air, just standing over, this idea of standing over the camera came from a line where he said, I'm
Planted, but I sprouted out the mud.
So, when you plant a seed, it takes a while to like grow out of the ground. And so I wanted to kind of showcase that in a way, and we'll get into how I did that in a little bit. Another thing, this is another reference. Again, I can't remember what project this is from, but first of all, this image is just super striking to me. The red blood over the white porcelain sink and just a top-down angle. The lighting is super soft, but it's, dark, but it's not too dark. It's just, a striking image. It's like a memorable image, and I wanted to emulate this because he has a line where he talks about
Doesn't know Jesus wasn't shiesty, he still got it back in blood.
and Back in Blood is a song by a rapper named Pooh Shiesty, and it was like, a popular song at the time of the recording of this song. It's just a clever play on words. In Christianity, they talk a lot about the blood of Jesus and how he shed his blood. So the gear we used to shoot this music video, as far as the camera, was the S5 IIX. I've had a love for Panasonic since the GH4 days and the GH5 days especially. I never owned either of those cameras, but I would rent the GH5 and the GH5S often. I did own a G7 for a short time, and I just was always in love with the image, with the features, and just their philosophy as a camera company. And I had just been hearing amazing things about this camera, and I really wanted to test it out to see if it worked for me, if it worked for my workflow. And then the idea of having open gate, and maybe it's not actual IMAX, but having that type of aspect ratio, and being able to kind of get a similar vibe, a similar feel. And I knew that going into this, they wanted a lot of stuff that could be used for social. And so instead of shooting stuff vertically, in addition to shooting it horizontally, we could just shoot it open gate and then have, all this room to play with. For lenses, we use some vintage Soviet lenses for a variety of reasons, just for the character that they have, especially, everyone knows the infamous Helios 58 millimeter, the 442. A rendition of that was used on the Batman and many other beautifully shot films and projects. But, a lot of the times for my video, I was mostly on the 20 mil on all the wide shots. We had a 20 millimeter. I think we had another lens that may have been wider than 20 mil. I think it was like an 11 mil. Yeah, we wanted this. We wanted to allow a 12 millimeter, but it wasn't available anywhere, and so I found an 11 millimeter by Irix, and then I also have an old Canon B4 broadcast power zoom lens. I don't know the exact model, but yeah, I use that for some of the like super crazy zoom in, zoom out type of stuff. I did use the Ursa Broadcast 6K for those shots where I did use the B4 mount, because that camera natively already comes with the B4 mount. So instead of trying to source a B4 mount to L mount, I just used the camera that already naturally had that in there. And that was something that was, at our disposal. So yeah, there's two different cameras on my video, three different types of lenses, brands of lenses on my video. I wanted to go for like a grungier, vintage, filmish type of look. All right, so I shot this whole breakdown, and I didn't find out until I got into editing that OBS wasn't recording the DaVinci screen. Like, it recorded the interface of DaVinci, but anything that played in here was just blacked out. So I had to figure out what settings and do some tests. And so hopefully this time around it'll be better anyway. But without further ado, let's get into it. So like I said, on the EP, the songs kind of flow into each other. And so we wanted to kind of do the same thing for the visuals. Nick, like I said, directed the first visual. And so his directly flows into mine. His visual is pretty dope. It's a bunch of double exposure, cloning, type of stuff. Very, introspective. I used a lot of color separation and a lot of complementary colors and stuff to kind of create the vibe and the mood along with the exposure. And certain images are very bright exposure wise. So we'll get into, so this first shot here, I am lens whacking. If you don't know what lens whacking is, it's just essentially holding the lens in front of the sensor. Instead of clicking it onto your camera, you hold it in front of the sensor, just kind of move it around, and it allows actual light leaks to come into the actual footage, as well as, it's a way to kind of get a dope kind of selective focus effect, as well as some dope energy and movement. It's very kinetic. As you can see, this is the effect that it kind of gives, where, his hairs right here at the bottom of the frame are in focus, and his shoulder is in focus, but, everything else is out of focus. And so, it's just a dope effect, and you can move the lens to the beat of the music, and it'll, create a dope effect that you can't necessarily, at least not easily, create in post. And for me, I'm just always of the thinking of trying to get as much done in camera as possible. That's what I've been, that's what I was trying to do here. There's a theme with this video, and I didn't even realize it until I broke this video down the first time. But you don't really need a lot. Majority of the shots in this video, I'm using 2 lights. I had access to almost like a half ton worth of lighting gear and stuff, but I only pull what's needed. I don't just, pull everything out or use everything just because I have access to it. So, obviously darker shots don't necessarily need as much light necessarily, depending on the scope of the shot. But, with this, the artist is sitting down on a stool. Um, I have a C stand with my terrible drawing. I have a C stand with like a grip arm on it, and then I have a like a tube holder. Um, I'll put a link to that below, but and it has just two 4 foot nan light tubes, and then the artist is behind the artist, slightly above. So excuse my crude drawing here, but I have a C stand with the boom arm, and two 4 foot nanlite pavo tube boomed over the artist, from behind, and then I have a 5-in-1 reflector, at an angle, kind of one side on the artist's lap and the other side directly under the lens. So just imagine this is the camera, this is the reflector, and it's bouncing back that light. So that's why you see under size the artist. There's like a little bit of bounce back, and it just brings his overall face up in the front. But I most of the time prefer to backlight as much as possible, if I can. Um, and yeah, and so that just gave, kind of the look and the vibe that I was going for this scene. But like you said, it's two lights and they're technically on one stand. So, you could look at it as one source and then, I'm bouncing back the light. Pretty simple. Most of the work is being done by just the lens whacking in this, and it allows the lens, to have to add a dope perspective and a dope look, as you'll see. And I'll play it through, and so you can see the effect.
If I let you know it's going down, it's not a decline.
And depending on the lens, depending on the camera, depending on the light, and where it's placed in the space, and what type of light, if it's soft, is it a point source, is it just all those factors can change how this effect looks in the end, and even the color temperature, right? So I purposely had the light at a cooler temperature, and if it was at a warmer temperature, then this flare, this leak would be more of a warmer color. So this is the shot I was talking about with the like super crazy zoom, broadcast 6K. Again, just handheld. This is off a tripod. I'm high up on a platform. Literally, this is just the ambient lighting that's out. This is like around blue hour. I raised up the ISO, to kind of give me a little bit more, but most of this is just pretty much how it looked. So the lighting is just very soft. So I didn't have to do a lot. I originally had other plans I wanted to get this look, and then I wanted to get a variation of this look. I didn't have time to get the variation of the look on the day. Again, just natural lighting, and then I have a different reflector on a stand, kind of bouncing back the sun. And that's where this light under his chin is coming from. If you've ever messed around with photography, I'm sure that you've seen those. It's like circular reflectors. It's like a rectangle reflector, but then they bend it into a circle. That's pretty much what I had. And they have them where they're already on a stand. You don't need anyone to hold it. And so that's just right in front of them, and it's bouncing back. All right, and so this is pretty much the same setup as the lens whacking shot. It's that C stand with the boom arm on it, and the two tubes over him. I have like a grid slash like softbox type of thing on the tubes. Maybe some gaff tape as well, just to extend it even more, just to kind of cut the spread of the light around. We wanted to spread a little bit, but it was spreading on the C-stand that was behind him. And even though we have, most of our C-stands are black, it's still like kind of reflective, so you can see some kind of, reflections at times. So We did put some neg over it and some floppies. It was extended so high and extended out so much that we didn't have enough sandbags to kind of keep it down. So we had to have bodies there to hold it down. And so we had to cover them up as well. In some shots, I even ended up having to roto the artist out and, kind of do some work in the back. But you could pretty much count that as just a single source. If I had I didn't have any matte lights on this set, I would have preferred to use a matte light versus the tubes. But if I had a matte light, it would have just been one light up there. But yeah, I utilized my 4-foot tubes. I just had two up there though, and it's kind of just spreading down, doing this thing. There are some shots where I have someone kind of tracking in with me with the reflector, or while I'm orbiting, they're moving around with me with the reflector to bounce some of the light back. But for most of these wide angle shots, which I think this is either on the 20 or the 11, I can't remember. I can't remember, but it was just me because the lens was so wide. If they were there, you could see them in the shot. You could see the reflector in the shot. So I just thugged it out, but I kind of like how it looks. So which is like that. And so this is a tighter shot, and you can kind of see the reflector in his eye. It's the same lighting setup, but this is, since I'm a little tighter, or a lot tighter, excuse me, I felt like it was okay to have someone, kind of bouncing back some of that light into his face. Yeah. So all of these shots are pretty much the same lighting setup. Some have reflectors and some don't. Again, if you haven't seen the video, definitely go check it out. I'll put the link down below. Let's get into, this is one of my favorite shots. One of my favorite setups in the whole video is this. The way I pulled this off, for a video I did maybe a couple of years ago, it was a similar shot that needed to be done. It was like a dance song. And so to incorporate the dancing in an interesting way, I built a platform that had a sheet of plexiglass as a top in order for me to be able to get under and just shoot up through. That's what you're seeing here. There's a platform. There's 4 legs, 2 on this side, 2 on this side. The top part is just plexiglass, but it's thick enough that it can withstand and hold human weight, as well as the platform itself is also helping support the weight, obviously. And it's big enough to where I can get under here and kind of, sit, squat, whatever, and shoot through. Essentially, this is one light, literally the sun. This is actually the sun. It's not this orange. This is actually a light leak or a film burn that I put over the edit, but the sun is back here. That's where this lens flare is coming from. And then I have that same kind of semicircle reflector kind of boomed up to bounce the light back into the dancers and the artist's face, so that way they're not in silhouette. It actually was a decent exposure, but it was a little dark for my liking without the reflector. So when I added the reflector, it just, gave it just that little extra nudge, because I didn't want to obviously blow the sun out. For the most part, it is out of frame, but I'm doing 360. I'm on a gimbal, and it's just sitting on an Apple box, and I'm doing a 360 spin. So some shots have more sun than others. I just wanted to make sure that was, remedied as much as possible. So already with them having white on, is bouncing back a little bit of ambient, but then having just that little extra push from the reflector is, doing a lot of the work. As you see, the sky is pretty down, even though the sun's kind of right here. This is only, this white because it's an actual cloud there. So literally off camera over here is, this giant reflector just kind of bouncing back some light. I'll get into some of the camera work here. So there's a lot of, I went over this in the treatment a little bit, but there's a lot of dolly zooms, Hitchcock zooms and stuff in this. And so to accomplish that, again, we use the Blackmagic Ursa 6 Broadcast 6K. Their names are terrible, and a Canon power zoom, like an old broadcast, run and gun, documentary style lens. And so right now we're on the back of a Jeep, and the camera's on a tripod. We got a bunch of like sandbags on it. I'm controlling the tripod, trying to keep them in center frame because we have a lot of things conspiring against us. As we zoom in, anybody that has filmed on a tighter lens, like a 50 or something, or 50 or tighter, that any like amount of shake or, alteration, it's hard to keep people in center frame or in frame at all. So it gets a lot harder to keep them in the frame. So I had Nick on the back of the Jeep with me, zooming, and I was controlling like the framing, trying to keep them in the frame. And then David was driving the Jeep. They were like jogging, and we were kind of like trying to find the right speed of zoom along with coordinating the zoom with David to drive at the right speed, to where we weren't running off on them too fast, to take away the effect, but also like, feeling out the speed of the zoom, and everything. So it took a couple of tries for each of these different shots. I just tried to backlight them, but this is like early morning. The sun is just over here coming in. That's where this like lens flare here is coming from. It's a quick clip, but there's a few of these laced out throughout the video. Some of them kind of glitch and stutter, and some of them just go straight through. Some of them are speed ramped, and some of them aren't. And so they have different effects for different times and different meanings in different parts of the song.
Tell the devil run it back, that's a rewind. Nah, I can't let him get a pass like the D-line. Hey.
This is literally the only shot of the video where I use something other than a tube. And so we just have like a white backdrop in the background. I believe it's like an 8-foot artist sitting on a stool. And then I have a 600D going into a big like 7-foot umbrella. And it's like it's white on the inside, so when it bounces back, it's super soft. And then I have like a diffuser on top of that to soften it even more. And so that's where I'm getting this super, super soft light from. And it's literally just right behind camera, slightly above. So that way it's, kind of coming down slightly. And yeah, it's just even light. I love the look of it, whether it's, frontal or, backlit or from the side or whatever. I love just that setup. I'll do a video on that setup, but that setup is slept on still to this day. I got the original idea from Spencer Sakurai. He made a video talking about using the umbrella, kind of like book light, bounce light kind of setup, and it's just all on one stand.
Oh, that's deep. Yeah, know it's a lot to unpack. This path came out of nowhere. I know God put me on the map. Before I was in the world, I was of the world trying to adapt. The devil lying in my ear, I told him hats off with the cap. Hey.
So this is the top-down shot that I spoke about before, and as you see, I have my top down. The camera's just boomed over on a C-stand arm. There was a light fixture right above the mirror, and so I just placed a 4-foot tube on top of it, and it just sat there. And that's where this light is coming from, and we're bouncing it up into the ceiling and slightly towards this wall, so that way it's not as much. It's not like bouncing up straight up and coming down. It's still a little bit of shape here. And then we turned off all the lights in the actual bathroom just to give us, some mood. Like over here, it's a little darker. Over here, it's almost like a vignette of light, or a vignette of shadow around the subject. And that's just all there naturally, as well as, we have a little shape here, just to kind of cut them out of the image. And I had it set to a, warmer color temperature, kind of drive that color change home again. We're going from like a cooler look here during blue hour. And I leaned into that with in the grade and in the white balance on set. Everything I do, I try to just get it on set. A lot of times I'm not messing with the white balance as much. Sometimes, most of the time, what I like to do is just set it like in the 4,000 range, like 4,300, 4,200, 4,700, because in that range, warm is really warm and cool is really cool. And so it's like that middle ground if you want to have that color separation. But yeah, that was pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, definitely leave them down below. If you want to see me break down anything else, let me know. Want to see any other types of videos, let me know. I got some other ideas for some other stuff coming soon. So, so just stay tuned. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Make sure you just subscribe and, tap in what we're trying to build here. Appreciate you.